Hello everybody. Today we're going to learn about functions. Functions. How do you explain what a function is? A function is a rule. A rule that explains. So a function is a rule that explains how two numbers are connected. Now, before I go further into detail with that, let me kind of explain how functions work. And I do that by drawing what I call the function machine. So here's a function machine right here. Kind of looks like a meat grinder, right? So here's here's the function, right? This is a function machine. And a function machine works like this, where you plug things in, they call the inputs, and you get things out. We call those the outputs. So for example, if my function machine had the rule, we'll just say the function says, whatever you plug in, you add 3 to it. So if I plug a 5 into this machine, into this function, it says whatever you plug in, add 3. So 5 plus 3, I get out an 8. If I plug in a 7 into this machine, it adds 3 to it, and I get out a 10. If I plug in a 4, I get out a 7, and so on and so forth. Now, there's a couple of special rules, a couple of special ideas or guidelines that this machine has to follow. So, for example, one input can only give one output. So, for example, I cannot put in 5 and get out an 8 and a 10 at the same time. Because 5 plus 3 is 8, but 5 plus 3 is not 10. So only one thing goes in and one thing comes out. That's like the biggest, most important rule of a function. That whatever you put in, you only get one thing out. Okay? So you have your inputs, your outputs. They also call this the independent variable and the dependent variable. That's more science related. But for now, just, there's the function machine. Sometimes you can even say that, what if we put in the word purple? Whatever we put in, it turns it purple. So if I put in a red, it turns out purple. And things like, I'm just making things up at this point. Okay? Well, here's what a mathematical function looks like. Okay? So y equals x plus 4. Okay? Well, your input is always your x. And your output is always your y. Okay? So this means whatever you plug in, you add 4 to it to find your output. And we show how they work with a table. Okay, the table shows us how they map. So for example, if I put in a 2 for x, so x is now 2. 2 plus 4. 2 plus 4 is 6. So if I plug in a 2, I get out a 6. If I plug in a 4, 4 plus 4 is 8. So if I plug in a 4 into my function, and I add 4 to it, I get out 8. If I plug in a 7, I get out 11. If I plug in 12, I get out 16. If I plug in negative 3, I get out 1. Whatever I'm plugging in, my input, I'm adding 4 to it for my output. Okay? That's how functions work. Okay, so today, practice these. I'm going to give you some tables. I'm going to give you some functions. And you're going to do that. Okay? I'll do this one more example for you guys. This is saying whatever I plug in, I times it by 2, and then I add 3. So if I plug in a 4, what is 4 times 2? Well, 4 times 2 is 8. 8 plus 3 is 11. So if I plug in a 4, the function gives me an 11. If I plug in a 5, 5 times 2 is 10, plus 3 is 13. If I plug in a 7, 7 times 2 is 14, plus 3 is 17. Okay? Now what we're going to do with these functions later is these are actually points, like the point 4, 11, and the point 5, 13, and the point 7, 17. And we're going to take graphs, and we're going to graph these, 4, 11, and 5, 13, and 7, 17. And we're going to look at what functions look like on a graph. But for now, let's just stick to here. That's what functions are. They just teach us or explain to us how two numbers are connected to one another by a rule given. Thanks, guys.